The experiential argument for God's existence, I think, is a huge one, and it's a very valid one.
Valid, eh? Well, we'll see about that.
I mean, just if we look at this objectively, the vast majority of humanity, from the beginning of time to the present day, believes either in the existence of God, the gods, or something beyond reality. The atheist or the agnostic community are a very small percentage in actual belief around the world. Now, why is that?
Well, I suspect one reason is the same as the reason that at one time most people believed in geocentrism. They simply didn't know any better. Theism, of course, has lasted a lot longer than geocentrism, and part of the reason for that, I think, is that unlike geocentrism, theism is unfalsifiable. Also, a lot of cultural and political authority tries to base itself on religion and therefore has a vested interest in keeping theism going. I think there are other reasons as well. Any of these reasons makes a lot more sense and follows more reasonably than the idea that these desires and beliefs are given to us by a timeless, spaceless, disembodied mind.
I think that's because our actual encounter with life, with conscience, and with reality drives us to assume intuitively that there's something.
Our sense of desire, our longings, our aesthetics, our love for beauty, for something bigger than ourselves. It's all these transcendent longings that we have.
Unless you define your God as being these desires and longings in and of themselves, as Oprah and some other new agey folks seem to do, how are they any indication of the existence of anything?
In addition, it's also people's religious experience. And so again, you look over thousands of years of history and millions of people who claim belief in God. How is that unreasonable, or irrational?
Well, it's irrational to infer that an idea is true from the fact that it is popular. That's an argumentum ad populum.
It doesn't seem to be. So these are all witness and testimony from our human experiences. We are, for example, finite human beings who have these great transcendent longings. How do you explain that?
How do you infer from the fact that something is desired that it is therefore likely to exist? I'm not connecting the dots here. How does that conclusion follow from the premise?
And that's the way I think many people come to know God. I think of, for example, my own mom, who was very, very committed to Christ, but she had no idea. She could not read or write. She had never heard of the Kalam cosmological argument, could not give any coherent argument for God's existence, but I can, for that reason, say that she did not know God. And so arguments can actually, as William Lane Craig has pointed out many times, they can actually be a distraction to our coming to know who God is.
Craig thinks arguments are a distraction, and he has said many times that they are not even the primary reason he believes in a God, yet he built his career on making these arguments.
A friend of mine once said a man with an experience is not at the mercy of a man with an argument.
Well, that depends on the experience and the argument. There are plenty of experiences which a person can and should doubt if someone makes a good argument that those experiences were illusory.
That doesn't mean to say that experience in itself is totally exhaustive, but it is part of what we have. I have to account for my experiences.
Yes, but why not account for them as parsimoniously as possible? Is sensing a presence, for example, which we know can be illusory and even artificially produced, or a desire for something most simply explained by the existence of a timeless, spaceless, disembodied mind? I don't see how. To everyone who helps me out on Patreon, you're a big help. Thanks so much.